Let's talk about Bubble, Netflix's latest anime feature. Not to be confused with The Bubble, which dropped not that long ago. I'm going to be taking a look at this WIT Studio production, sharing my own personal thoughts and feelings. Key plot details are going to be discussed, so there will be spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Righty dokie then, where do I start here? Other than the film's opening song by Eve, which is an absolute banger. Well, Bubble has been doing the rounds with several review sites for being rather hard to follow. In all honesty, I do share this sentiment. The plot is presented for the most part in a rather abstract way, where the visuals and soundtrack are the main driving force of the film, but any actual plot is pretty loose and blurry. The deal here is we are in Tokyo, which has been impacted by an event referred to as Bubble Fall. No, not the worst Bond movie ever, but a time where hundreds of thousands of bubbles fell from the sky, burst, and the residual water buildup flooded the city. Simultaneously, the city was encased in a giant bubble with seemingly no means of escape. There's an explosion at Tokyo Tower, which is pretty much the bubble epicenter, maybe the London Stadium's on the other side, and due to gravitational anomalies in the city, the tower is exceedingly hard to reach to see what's going on. What could help you get to the tower? Why not a bit of parkour? You see, despite the city being uninhabitable and a post-apocalyptic wreck, the younglings of Tokyo use the landscape and architecture to participate in parkour tournaments. Our main group here is the Blue Blazers, who we follow throughout. By the way, their rival team, the Undertakers, are so cool. I love their Cyclops masks, how they speak through their palms. They're brilliant conceptually and pretty creepy when they mutter "good morning" to you over and over again. A lot of the film is just parkour, but goodness me, the animation is spectacular. In certain parts, they've blended the 2D characters with a rotoscope style landscape for them to run across, and we get people moving at high speed from shifting third person and first person perspectives. It's incredibly immersive and exhilarating to watch, lures you right into the world via the action. The colour palette of Bubble is gorgeous as well. It utilises vivid pinks and blues to build up the visuals, and the animation team has done a wonderful job. It's striking and I couldn't help but fall in love with it. Speaking of falling in love, our main characters here are Hibiki and Uta. Hibiki is an unreal parkour runner but keeps himself to himself from having auditory sensitivity, his hearing being hypersensitive. As such, he's the only person in the city who can hear an angelic song spawning from Tokyo Tower, and can also see what appears to be a boy there. So he uses his skill to try and get to it. Failing, he falls into the waters below, and his last breath merges with bubbles to create a young woman. The woman can hear the same song, so Hibiki names her Uta, meaning song. Uta is strange, as if she isn't fully human, but Hibiki trains her in the ways of parkour. Their relationship here has the Jack and Rose effect, where it's an awful lot of love in a small period of time. They meet, they do some stuff, they look each other in the eyes and get shy, they fall in love. It's pretty scattergun, but not the first time it's been done, and it won't be the last. I didn't bond with their connection on the simple basis that it all happened so quickly. Either that or my heart's black. Either way, I just wanted something more from their relationship since it's so pivotal to the film. There are recurring passages in the film where Uta recites The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. The link between the fairy tale and the film is pretty superficial though. Are they trying to imply that Uta is a mermaid herself from another world? Are they trying to imply that Uta has become versed in human culture in a short space of time and has been able to find some literature to thematically link to her experience in the world? Or are they just quoting a more famous story to make it seem more intelligent than it actually is? I fear that it's a combination of the above, even though at the end Uta turns into sea foam as per the original ending of Andersen's story. It doesn't have much of an impact on the rest of the film or the Uta character, in my opinion. It also leads into a main bit of critique of the film in that it relies on being almost poetic in its presentation to the point where it taps into concepts and thought processes more than story. Fundamentally, I don't have a problem with tapping into that at all. If you want to make this film high art and speak on the human experience and the foreverness of elements being scattered and repurposed for eternity, then go for it. But to have a film that tries to speak on what it means to be human and being a modernized version of a famous historical fable is one thing. To have it in what is literally a world full of bubbles and teenagers doing acrobats is another thing. Its plot and characters are half-baked, its themes and symbolism are half-baked, but that doesn't mean if you throw them together you get something fully baked. I do love the subtext of everyone being trapped in a bubble though, because it links well to Hibiki and Uta. The phrase being trapped in a bubble signifies a lack of freedom or being limited to the things you can do. Here, it's literal, as these characters are trapped within the city, but in the case of Hibiki, his hearing issues have made him become a bit of an outcast. He resides in his own introverted world where he struggles to connect with other people. Uta comes along and is limited herself by the fact she's only just become human. She's limited in the sense that she's got a lot of catching up to do, and is also an outcast for being anatomically different to everybody else. However, it's the actions and love between Hibiki and Uta that wind up bursting the bubble, metaphorically and literally, so that Hibiki is connected to Uta forever and has become a free spirit. And Uta, despite losing her human form, has become a part of the elements constantly being repurposed, and they both share the hope of one day reuniting elementally. That's just how I read into it. To chat about the ending of Bubble, which has caused some confusion due to its somewhat convoluted nature, here's my interpretation, which may help. So, bearing in mind I've only watched Bubble once, and it was a lot to compute, I may have a few of these elements incorrect, but I viewed it with the song and the image of the boy coming from the tower being Hibiki as a young boy during the period where he was experiencing his hearing issues. He touches and links with water and hums the song, which creates a psychological link to what will eventually become Uta. When Hibiki is older and Uta is in human form, they both hear the song, and Hibiki sees the boy coming from the tower. What I believe is that Hibiki and Uta had this tiny moment where they connected many years ago. The explosion at Tokyo Tower has somehow made that moment magnify and become significant, and now both Hibiki and Uta can hear and see the remnants of the moment their elements first connected with each other. I might have got some of that wrong, and I might be talking absolute waffle, so let me know in the comments below what your interpretation was, or if I am indeed a massive spanner. The film ends with Hibiki being happy he will always have this connection with Uta, and performs parkour with a bubble. Not clear if it's a real bubble or if it's just one in his mind, but whatever it is, Hibiki clearly views it as Uta accompanying him. I love this sentiment here and the way love is viewed, because even after a loved one dies, you still have a feeling deep within you of loving them, but you're not loving something physical, you're loving the idea of someone, the memories of them, and reminiscing on the impression they left on you for the rest of your life. You carry them with you always, but not in a literal sense. It's really heartfelt, but I've had to kind of drag that out of the film to interpret it that way. Bubble doesn't hold your hand, and it's no wonder why it's been looked at with shades of complexity. All the random Blue Blazers characters did nothing for me. The parkour elements didn't offer much to the narrative other than that's the way Hibiki and Uta get to the tower. Oh, and some amazing action sequences. The love between Hibiki and Uta was a little shoehorned, and it's almost aiming to be fanciful for the sake of art. But I have come away from it feeling quite touched regarding love transcending death in the way that atoms are never destroyed, only repurposed and realigned. That's a beautiful concept I took away from the film, whether I was meant to or not. Let me know what you thought of Bubble as well as your ideas and theories down in the comments below. I've been Connor from Unleash the Ghouls, and remember, everything lasts forever.